Well, what about Nigerian students who haven't been able to flee Ukraine? And joining us now are Arise correspondent Mary Chinda, who has been covering the return of students all day here in the nation's capital, Abuja, at the airport, and Adefemi Akinsanya, who is in Poland. Also joining us is a Nigerian student, Moses Fehintola, who is trapped in the Ukrainian city of Sumi. Well, let's start with you, Mary. We must commend the job you've done all day, waiting to see those Nigerians return to the country safely. But tell us what's happening at the moment at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport where you are.
Thank you very much. At now, 9 minutes past 9 p.m. here, most of the students who arrived on the second flight from Poland have actually found their ways basically to reunite with their families. Some others, as you can see on the sitting down there, they're actually waiting. Some of them are waiting for parents, some of them are waiting to ensure that they can catch the next flight, to get to their families and be reunited with them. It's been an emotional day, I must say, for these students, returnees from both Romania and Poland. As you listened in that report, in the morning we had about 450 return from Romania, and then of course as at 6:30 p.m. today, we had another 181 student returnees return from Poland. I must also say that in that flight, which was an Air Peace flight, it wasn't just students. We also had mothers and their little babies of 6 months, some children like 2 years, who were also on that flight. It's a happy moment. I must commend the Nigerian government. I think they deserve some kind of commendation. The Minister for Humanitarian Affairs was here earlier on ground to welcome these Nigerian students, seeing the devastation that they've been through in the last couple of days. And of course, as soon as the students arrive at the arrival, they are being put through the COVID-19 test and then handed food. For some of them, sumptuous meals like rice, jollof rice and drinks. And then, of course, they have to sign and then ensure to be able to get about $100 from the government. And we asked the minister, why are you giving them dollars? I mean, that's about 56,000 naira in Nigeria. And she said, well, it's about the most internationally recognized currency, and seeing that these people are coming in from other countries, the government decided that they might as well just hand them the dollars. So that's what the situation has been. We're still waiting for the second leg of student returnees from Hungary. We do not know exactly when, but the information we have from Air Peace says that flight will be arriving at about 2:30 this tomorrow morning.
All right, Mary Chinda, thank you so much. I mean, you have really been on this all day. Let's join Adefemi Akinsanya, international correspondent, who is in Poland there. Adefemi, good to see you. Well, we hear that there are more students left behind than airlifted. Exactly how did that happen?
Wonderful to see you all. Yes, it was a numbers game. There were 180 seats available on that Air Peace flight, which brought the evacuees from Warsaw into Abuja. And essentially what had happened was, you'll remember that on Thursday, which was the day the flight was initially supposed to leave, only 163 passengers were given boarding passes, and that's the amount of people who actually showed up at the airport for boarding. So when that flight wasn't able to leave, as we all know, and was rescheduled for Friday, today, it was a situation where you were expecting that definitely all of those 163 people would show up again. However, that wasn't entirely the case. 7 people didn't show up. 7 people who had showed up the day before didn't show up this morning. But that wasn't to dangerous because there was a new group of people who had emerged at the airport this morning who weren't there yesterday, who wanted to get one of the newly available seats. 17 of them were available. So of this group of people, around 30 of them, the Nigerian authorities prioritized travelers with young children and women. And that meant that some 12 to 13 people, almost all of them young men and one woman, were left behind because there literally was not any more space. So the Nigerian embassy officials put them back on the coach and took them back to the hotel where the evacuees have been staying. And the idea is that they will continue to stay there as more and more evacuees make themselves known to the authorities. And once they get a substantial amount, they'll be able to make more arrangements for another evacuation plane to come in. I think in amongst all of the commendation of the Nigerian government, it's also worth commending the private sector Air Peace, which is the flight that serviced the evacuation of Nigerian refugees and returnees from Poland to Nigeria, should also be involved in the commendations going all around, because it was a great humanitarian effort and an example of collaboration between the private sector and the federal government.
Well, thank you, Femi. From Poland, let's go to Ukraine, where we have Moses Fehintola, who is apparently trapped in the country. Moses, thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight here in Nigeria and sharing your experience. It must be hard trying to figure out a way out at the moment, but tell us where you are exactly. Are you safe? And why are you not part of this evacuation process by the Nigerian government?
I'm in Sumi right now. And in fact, I would have joined this meeting in a video and using my video and audio, but I could not, because as at now, we are asked to turn off our lights and go into an underground basement from where I'm talking to you from. So alarms and sirens go on at different times, and we have to quickly find shelter in bunkers. That is the situation. That is how we have to live every day. And we are trapped in Sumi because we can't use any form of transportation. Transportation to us has been blocked. We can't travel by rails because the rails are reportedly controlled by Russian officials, Russian military. We can't use roads because the Russian military are in charge of all the roads, and we can't just travel out. And every single time a group of people has tried, they sent them back. Then it's really difficult. Every driver or even private car owners, they don't want to go out of Sumi right now because of the fact that the area or the region has really been totally surrounded by Russian military. So that is the situation we have here right now.
Moses, we hear that Sumi is about 40 kilometers away from the Ukraine border there. But help us understand the condition of the bunker where you're in. We've seen a few people there. Do you have an idea of how many you are? I mean, water, provisions, food, and all of that. What can you tell us? And maybe the psychological state of those of you in that bunker.
Well, as of now, in total, there are about 1,000 international students. I'm here together with people in the bunkers. Depending on whichever hotel, whichever area you are in, you'll be asked or you're given sirens to run into the bunkers. Some places, actually, maybe right now, they might not be inside bunkers. They might be in their rooms. But in my region, that is where we are. And I'm here together with about 19 people just in one space. It's on underground space, of course, and it was built basically to just shelter yourself. It's not a place that has all the facilities, and I barely service to be even able to call you. I have to go to a region or a space specifically. The place is not conducive, as it's dusty, and you inhale dust, you inhale a whole lot of particles. It gets cold sometimes, and we just have to, wear our jackets or put on take blankets with us when we are going there, and so it's really not a conducive situation. The problem is the major problem is the psychological effect it has, because I don't think anyone enjoys spending half of their day in a bunker, because every single moment, every single minute we hear a siren, we have to run and rush to the bunker. We go from our rooms to the bunker, to the room, to the bunker, to the room, to the bunker. People are getting tired and paranoid. It's really it has this effect. In fact, when I go outside once in a while to step out and buy food, I always keep looking over my shoulder, just because of the fear that someone may just be out there trying to shoot, someone may be out there trying to send an explosive. So it really damaged me psychologically. It's really not as fun or as interesting as one would think. It's fearful.
Moses, I mean, have you been in contact with the Nigerian authorities? Have you been able to reach them? What's your plea? I mean, this is news night, it's prime time, and the authorities are listening to you. What's your plea to them at this time?
Well, definitely we are reaching out to them, and so far so good. As at this stage, there are talks of an evacuation plan for students in Sumi. I've been in talks with the Nigerian embassy to Ukraine, Nigerian embassy to Russia, and in fact the university together with Ukrainian Ministry of Affairs, they just keep telling us that there will be a plan, definitely, and that is what we are waiting on as at now. And well, I don't know what is going to happen or how tons of events are going to be, but they've assured us from the embassy. I mean, I've gotten calls from even the Foreign Affairs Commission in Nigeria that definitely they are working on it, and they are making us their priority list, and they hope that by this weekend, not long, a few days from now, we'll be able to get out of this place.
Yes, indeed. We're really keeping hope alive with you. Adefemi, before we let you go, I mean, what's the status of Nigerians who've crossed, the Poland border where you are?
It's all tough. It's very difficult. The general consensus of everyone I've spoken to is that they have all faced harsh conditions and harsh attitudes in getting across different Eastern European borders. Racism has also been constantly referenced. The fact that one student who was 19 years old said that he had to wait 3 days at the Poland border from Ukraine in order to cross over. And even then they had to fight their ways over the borderline. So it's very heartbreaking to hear Moses Fehintola talk about how scared they are still being trapped in Ukraine. And we're hoping that the Nigerian government, we've also been in contact with the ambassador to Poland, as well as the foreign ministry, and they've told us that they are in talks with Russian authorities and United Nations in order to set up an evacuation corridor for the students trapped in Sumi. So we're hoping that within a feasible time, that information will be able to trickle down, so students like Moses Fehintola will be able to leave. But for the people who've been crossing these Eastern European borders, it's been a real difficult process. And even on top of that, you would imagine that after going through such harrowing experiences, they would be rushing to evacuate back to Nigeria. But there have been mixed reactions. Some people don't actually want to go back to Nigeria. People who have spent so much money on their education, on their visas, on their immigration processes, to leave all of that behind and flee and come back to Nigeria just isn't something that's feasible to every single person. That's not taking away from the fact that there are people who legitimately want to return to Nigeria. But as you can imagine, it's been a very, very tough situation for a lot of these people trapped and fleeing this conflict.
I hear Moses Fehintola would have to go now. We do appreciate you sharing your experience with us, even in the toughest of conditions that you are. Our thoughts and our prayers are with you, and we hope that you keep safe. Moses Fehintola, Nigerian student trapped there in Ukraine. But let me come back to you now here in the nation's capital, International Airport. Mary Chinda, who's been covering this all day long. Mary, from the first flight to the subsequent flights that you have covered so far, would you say the process of receiving these Nigerians has improved? Are things being done better, in your own opinion? And so have we learned anything all day to be able to receive the next batch you await? You said 2:30 a.m. Nigerian time. What is your assessment of the process so far all day, because you've been there?
Well, much as the Nigerian government seem to deserve some kind of commendation for the way they've been able to handle this, one would just think that if the process, especially for the process of getting them to do their COVID-19 test and all of that, is being maybe being if it's gets to be a little bit more faster, it's going to save these people a lot of time. Notice that these people are coming in, they're already devastated, they are tired, some of them are feeling bad that, they abruptly have to find themselves in Nigeria. So getting them to, stay through the process of, doing this COVID-19 test for about 3-4 hours, it's quite a lot. I mean, some of them are very hungry, and then they have to wait for hours to get to do the COVID-19 test. Another thing is the fact that, and this should create some kind of worry, the fact that these people are not being secluded. They just go through the test, and I was told that they're going to get emails as to whether they are positive or negative, and that is a source of worry, especially when we're talking about reducing the number of COVID-19 cases that we are handling in the country.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Mary Chinda. She's been on this all day. Adefemi Akinsanya is in Poland, international correspondent. And Moses Fehintola, a Nigerian student there trapped in Ukraine, still in the bunker there. Thank you all for joining us on Newsnight. We'll take a short break and return. Moving on with the news, Hungary has agreed in the meantime to take in a number of Ghanaian citizens who fled Ukraine so that they can continue their studies in Europe. Spaces and resources are being opened up at a number of Hungary's universities, and the students will pay the same fees they were paying in Ukraine. More than 1,000 Ghanaian students were living in Ukraine until Russia invaded last week, and the West African nation has so far made 2 repatriation missions.